welcome our guest today, Mr. Taj Smith of the Smith Law Group. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Can't complain. You know, surviving.
I hear you, man. So maybe we start off with um, when did you start your business? A little bit about your background, how you got into law. We can go from there.
Okay. Well, let's start with how I got into law. So, I was actually a computer programmer before going to going to law school, but I hated it. Um, couldn't really vibe with all the other computer programmers that was in my office. I was like, this is not me. You know, I'd rather go out. They'd rather build computers and do coding. So I was like, that's not me. So
Right.
then I actually searched online, took a little personality test, like which professions would be good for you. So
Yeah.
it came down to real estate, a real estate broker, and actually law.
Hmm.
Interesting enough. Yeah. And then I decided so then I took the LSAT as well as getting my real estate license.
Yeah.
And funny story is the same day that I was supposed to start as a real estate broker, I got accepted to, I got my, I did well in the LSATs and then I got accepted to law school. And, being black, you go, oh, well, law is prestigious. Let me
Yep.
do that.
Yeah.
And then here I am.
That's awesome.
And that was, yeah, that was some years ago. Good Lord, I was in my 20s then.
So okay, so you become a lawyer.
Mhm.
It's awesome. Big career change. What motivated you to start your own business, your own practice?
Oh, money. Oh, it was strictly money. So when I went to law school, I was supposed to. The whole purpose of going to law school was to become either an IT attorney, but that was just boring, more boring than computer programming.
Right.
And then a friend of mine told me about an opportunity to work at the state's attorney's office. Did that for a summer. It was paid, and the you know it was exciting. It was like a whole new world.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is it right here. And then the state's attorney's office is like, it's me. Like people like to kick it, have a good time. It was like a family. So that what got here. Then I had kids while I was at the state's attorney's office.
Mhm.
State's attorney doesn't pay enough money to support kids and pay loans. And it's just true story. And then the private attorneys that I did talk to, they were making, big money. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this out. And there's actually one attorney. His name is Stuart Goldberg, very popular Chicago attorney. He told me after a trial we had together, he said, "What are you doing here? You could be making so much money if you go out on your own." He said, "When you're ready to make that jump, give me a call." And I took that to heart. And then, June of 2012, decided to make that leap.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty dope. That's one of the things that's always interesting or interesting topic is mentors, advisors.
Hmm.
You know, you mentioned the lawyer that said, "Hey, give me a call if you're interested." Like, who are you getting advice from when you wanted to, you were entertaining this idea of starting your own practice?
So the funny thing is, when I started to think about doing that, I actually talked to I was actually, I won't say friends, but I had a good relationship with all the private attorneys that came into my courtroom. So when I decided to that I was going to do that, I just pretty much called every single one of them. And I'm
Right.
like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What advice do you can give? Um, and I just started writing down all the different things, and take everything to heart. The biggest thing that someone told me, um, actually to this day, is still, it's still in the back of my mind, is that he said it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. Remember that. He said because he was making a lot of money, a lot of money. However, his overhead was high as well. So he had like all the associates and things like that, but he had to keep doing volume
Yeah.
to make his numbers each month. And he said it gets to a point where you just get tired of that. He wish he would have done it a little different.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you've been doing this 8, going on 9 years now.
Yeah.
Um,
Good Lord, man.
wh-
Yeah.
when did you feel like you figured it out?
You
When did you
don't.
feel like
You never. And I'll be honest. Every month I'm sitting here, like some months, it's just the way it is. It's just the nature of the business. Some months you feel like Puffy or Jay-Z out here, like, oh, we partying. And then some months you're like, yo, why am I doing this? I could be, you know, I could go work for somebody else and get, and be okay. That's the nature of this beast. You never, I don't care what anybody say, you never feel like you made it, um, at all. Never. You're always worried about, because you're killing what you eat, right? Especially the type of business I have, right? So you got to keep bringing in clients, you got to keep doing things like that, and you're always worried about if it stops.
Mhm.
And 9 years now, and I still worry every day, like, am I going to what I'm going to make next month, the month after that? You know, never stops.
Do you feel like there's a level of excitement around that? Is that level of pressure, motivating and keeping you going?
It's a little bit of, yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, a little bit of motivator, also very stressful. Especially when, if it was just me, I think it would be less stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But I have kids, a wife, another child on the way.
Hmm.
So, it just adds to the stress that, like, okay, so now with another child, I feel like I gotta rev it up more,
Yeah.
so it's always stressful. Being an entrepreneur is always stressful. You're going to be stressed until, you know, you sell your business or you retire from it. That's just how I feel.
Right. How do you um, tell me a bit about how you manage that stress?
Workout. Oh yeah,
and
workout.
and knowing you, I mean, I know you work out. Tell me a little bit about your regimen because as your friend, it's mind blowing to me.
No, so yeah, so now I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning. I run 6 miles by like 5 o'clock a.m. every morning. I'm running 5 miles, and then also now I'm actually doing 2 days. So I'll either do the bike or some strength training, some yoga, stretching, whatever. But it's definitely like 2 days. If not, I'll probably have a heart attack by now.
So what's interesting to me that I want to ask is how did you find or figure out that yeah, how did you figure out that working out was your zen? Like, how long did it take you to
Um,
figure out I need an outlet, working out is my outlet?
that actually happened when I was still in the state's attorney's office.
Mm.
Um, Things got a little stressful, especially like there was some personal stuff that was going on, and then I started working out, and I felt like it kind of stabilized me. And
Mhm.
then when I run, it's kind of like my meditation. It's my time to be by myself with my thoughts. And if I have a problem when I run, when I'm done, I usually have an answer to it. and I'm able to implement it.
Yeah.
So that's why that's actually the main reason why I run.
With, you mentioned wife, kids, baby on the way,
Mm-hmm.
working out is your zen place. You got your law firm where you're working all the time. How do you integrate all of those things together? People talk about work
Yeah,
life balance, but I really think it's work life integration, or it's really life integration. How do you make it work?
it is. You have to figure out what's important to you. Um, I've known workaholics. I'm talking to one right now. you know, um, you gotta. I feel like you gotta figure out what's more important to you. Um, like, yeah, I can have billions of dollars, millions of dollars, but I want to have a relationship with my family and my kids. That's more important to me than work. What being an entrepreneur and doing what I do affords me is give me the flexibility to be there for them, right?
Yeah.
So I can, if I know, like for instance, my son has a basketball game that I want to be there, I can clear my schedule because I work for myself and be there. So, it's all about what's more important to you.
Yeah.
But you got to have a balance. Work, 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 and you don't really get to live life. In my opinion, anyway, you don't really live life. What's the point of that?
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah. I mean, that's just me. But it's hard though. It really is hard. Sometimes my wife feels like, all right, you need to start working now. And I'm like, uh, I'm almost done, and I have to get this out, and I have to get this out. Um, and then sometimes, I'm just like, I'm not working today and I'm free. And she's like, why are you not working today? So, it's just, it's just what we go through. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, yeah,
Fair. So
you know.
so what talk to me about how you went you let me rephrase that. Tell me about the process of finding your first client, especially in a business where, there's not a lot of advertising that lawyers do, other than the injury attorneys you see on commercial every 2 seconds. But but tell me about how you basically built a brand without kind of mass marketing or mass advertising.
So, um, so now actually there has been a change where lawyers are starting to advertise a lot more, and the law is allowing lawyers to advertise a lot more. I guess due to the market, and there's so many more attorneys present now. For me, on the other hand, is that when I decided I was going to do this, I remember vividly. I went and got a bunch of business cards made, and literally just handed them out to everybody, hey, everyone, just anyone. Want a business
Yeah.
card? When they got a sandwich? Want a business card? you know, like, and you tell everyone that what you're doing. And then by the time, like I said, a date in stone, I was like, all right, on this day, I'm going to leave the office and we'll go out on my own, which is the scariest shit ever. It was. You got to really have faith in yourself because you realize you're just getting out there, and I had two kids at the time, and you're just going out there and you don't know what's going to happen. You're just
Right.
hoping for the best. So, luckily, when I got out, um, the day I the day I left, I had 5 clients all ready to go,
Nice.
and ever since then, I've never, I've always made more than what I made at the state's attorney's office, substantially more.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, and most people who've done it, I know who's done it does do very well. If you don't do well, a lot of it's yourself. You probably
Mhm.
just, you know, not really out there.
Right.
And then once you do a good job for one client, the word of mouth starts picking up,
Right.
you know. And honestly, one of my marketing plans is actually not to have a marketing plan. A lot of my clients like the fact that I don't market and things like that. They feel like they're getting you know, something special no one knows about.
Right. Best kept
Especially
secret.
since yeah, and especially since a lot of their friends talk so highly of me that I do very well for them.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, can't complain.
So
No, I
did
am.
you, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I am starting to look into advertising though.
Mhm.
I think I am going to this year. I think you're going to see. I think I am going to switch it up a bit and see how it goes. Like dip my toe in and see how it works out.
So especially as you start going into that process, what what goals did you set for yourself? Like how did you measure success?
So I gave myself a number each month that I had to meet. If I fell below that number for, I think I said 3 months, which honestly, looking back, that was silly. But I said if I fell below this number for 3 months, then I would go back and get a regular job. Yeah. But now that I know what being an entrepreneur is, now you would need to give yourself a lot longer than 3 months.
Yeah.
But no, I gave myself 3 months, and luckily for me, I never looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
How many in 9 years, how many times did you hit that 3 months, like, three successive months not hitting your number?
oh, COVID for sure.
Yeah.
When that first hit, that luckily I made enough, but it was drastically lower
Yeah.
than what I
Yeah.
was used to. And then I think there was like maybe one other time. Um, I can't remember when, but it was like maybe a few years ago. But nothing like, you know, so every year your number increases, right? So let's, for instance, like my first year, I said I would like to make like $10,000 a month. Okay. Maybe I fell below that, like never consecutive, but like maybe once or twice or three times, whatever. And then next year you increase it. You go, okay, well, I want to make sure it's 12,000, and then
Mhm.
3,000, and then 13. And you just keep increasing in that way. Um, so it's it's a little, you really can't. It's hard to really say, when I like right now, if I don't make my numbers now, it doesn't mean I'm broke. It just means
Right.
I didn't make the goals that I set for myself.
Right.
You know, that's the biggest thing.
I think that's an interesting. I think that's interesting because I would imagine that so many entrepreneurs would set kind of these goals and targets for themselves, and they would panic by not hitting them. So, how did you maintain the resolve to say, like, okay, like I didn't hit my number this month. This is what I'm going to do differently to hit my target next month.
Um, I don't think I did anything differently, honestly. Um, well, I take that back. Uh, when you first start out, especially with lawyers, billing is a big part of it. So, admittedly, when I first started, and even now, admittedly, billing was horrible. So I was like, okay, I got to get my billing together, and the more
Why?
that
Why do
became,
you say billing was horrible? Sorry for interrupting.
well, no, because so when you're dealing with especially the kind of law, well, actually, most lawyers, getting paid is the main thing. People don't want to pay attorneys. People already automatically think attorneys are just rich and we won't miss their money. It's true though. It's very true. Do you know how many times I got to tell them, like, listen, how would you like to go to your job? You work a full week for free. You work, your 40-hour week. And then they say, we can't pay you right now. We'll pay you in like a month or so. You'll be pissed off. They go, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. And when I first started, it was like, well, I'll pay you next week. Then I'll pay you next week. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait. And no, you really have to you really got to get gangster with it. Oh, you ain't gonna pay? Okay, well, find another attorney. You
Right.
got, you have to do that. Because you have to realize that this is a business too. Like you're running a business. And it took me a while to realize that I am running a business.
Right.
That this is not pro bono work. I don't have anybody like paying me to do this. This is how I get paid. So if you can't pay me, I get it. Everybody have sob stories, but you know, I'm gonna have to let you go.
When did you
Yeah.
when do you think that you figured that part of the equation out? Because I also think, just as my perspective, if I was looking for a lawyer and my attorney um, was sole proprietorship and it was just that person, there
Hmm.
is a blurred line between, oh, Tosh could just do me a solid versus I'm hiring the Smith group, the law group.
Right.
So how kind of what did you do differently? Did you reallocate more of your time on collections or, like you said,
Yes.
become a little bit more stern?
Yes. You reallocate a lot more of your time to collections and become more stern. Right. So now I'm at a point where, like, for instance, if you miss a payment, you receive an email saying that you have 7 days to pay, or I will be withdrawing. And there's no if and buts about it. Like I'll have people call, oh, I'll give it to you next week. Well, sorry to tell you, I can't wait that long. And then people will pay up. It's like, it's kind of like having children. Children are going to test their boundaries.
Mm.
And you gotta draw a firm line in the sand. And then also too, you gotta get over clients that you actually generally like. Like I have a lot of clients that are like, good dude, and going through some bad stuff, but I don't work for free,
Right.
you know, and there's nothing I can, I can't just sit here and wait for you to figure it out. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
So you gotta get kind of gangster with it.
How do you, now I'm interested about, tell me about the process of turning down customers.
Oh, I
Because
mean,
I ask because I feel like the idea of turning down customers, especially to a new entrepreneur, sounds crazy, right?
well, you
But
don't. You
but
don't.
so you're saying you don't turn down customers?
No. In the beginning, I didn't turn down clients, and it kicked me in the ass for not doing that. It did kick me in the ass for not doing that. Now, like I can detect, like, oh, you're going to be a problem. No, thank you. Or we do what we call, we charge them. What is it? The problem tax. If you're going to be a problem, like you can tell, especially the kind of law I do, like, right? So, oh, just so everybody know, do criminal defense and family law. So, be the most problematic law that you can do. So when you get somebody and you can tell that they're going to be a problem, and you can always tell by what they're asking for during your initial conversation with them, you're like, okay, what you would charge, like, let's say a retainer of 5,000 for somebody. If they're going to be a problem, you charge them 15,000 as a retainer,
Mm,
as the problem tax. Like, okay, I'll deal with your craziness if you pay this amount of money.
right.
And you'd be surprised how many people still do.
I'm always fascinated by the fact that law is one of the very, very few things where you can change your rate.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And if you don't want to pay my rate, there's other attorneys you can go to. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Enjoy
That's
yourself.
so it's an interesting point there, right? You're in a market where there's so much competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I mean, I don't want to say unlimited, but you're in the city of Chicago.
It's unlimited.
It's almost an unlimited, source of lawyers, in the city. So how do you make that balance? I'm really trying to think through beyond just, having 9 years of experience and being able to pinpoint, okay, well, this client's probably going to take way too much of my time and I can't afford to allocate that much time on this client. You know, is that just an experience and you got to trust your instincts,
Yes.
or do you just rely more on referrals? Like, how do you work through that?
So I rely completely on my whole client base is completely referrals. Like
Mhm.
everybody that comes to me is completely referrals. And you have to trust your gut. Like, and there's certain cases like I won't take because they require too much of my time, right? So when I first came out, I had a couple of attempt murders and murder cases. I don't do those anymore because they take a lot. It demands a lot of you.
Mhm.
A lot of emotion, a lot of time, a lot of everything. And not even from your client, but from the family.
Mhm.
So you get family members, knowing that their child is about to, or possibly going to go away for quite some time. So their stress and their stress is being projected onto you. And it's a lot of work, and it takes to make sure you cover all your bases and things like that. And after doing those, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna pass those along to other people who, you know, they're built for that.
Right.
It's just, it's too emotionally draining for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't even deal with that anymore.
what about what about the concept of partnering with your competitors, right? Like, do you work with other attorneys and other business owners, and you know, you know, like you just said, you may refer someone and say, hey, this person may be better equipped to provide you the services you need.
Hmm.
You know, is part of your time allocation kind of building a broad network with other lawyers so that you guys can support each other?
Oh yeah, we have like I have a whole well, before COVID hit, when we was doing Zoom, before Zoom started, I had a whole, like, we call it the Black Lawyer Association, right? So we was all on this group chat, that we will help each other out. So, for instance, if one person had to be at the Markham courthouse, everybody will text that morning and say, "Hey, anybody at Markham?" The person will say yes, and then he will cover all the cases at Markham. And then another person will be like, "I'm at the Daily Center," and they will cover all the cases. So everybody's not running around just to help each other out. Also, too, there's some people who, for instance, I do family law. There's a lot of people in the group chat like they don't do family law. They can't stand it, so they'll send them my way. Like I'll send like murder cases that will come my way to people in the group chat. So yeah, we all work very well together. There's no need. I think everybody can eat. There's no need to be cutthroat. It's not. You know, everybody who's on my group chat does very well for themselves, um, and we all work very well together. So there's no need to be cutthroat. It's always good to partner up with some people, and to throw ideas by. You just have to do that. It's the nature of the business.
Yeah. I think that that's an interesting idea for entrepreneurs, even outside of the industry of law. You know, look for partnerships, look for ways where other business owners, have kind of a joint benefit of beneficial relationship. That's a very interesting concept that I think would be helpful for folks. Um,
It's like it's kind of like Facebook buying what they bought, purchased Instagram,
mm,
things like that. Anything to make their business grow. It's the same thing with law. Like business is business.
yeah,
It's all cost analysis, and you are looking for ways to help your business grow and to be efficient with your time. Um, and that's how that's what the group chat, the Black Lawyer Association does, is help us to all be beneficial with our time. Like if somebody need an emotion or something like that, and we have it, we send it over to them. Like here you go, you know, just to help out.
yeah.
Yeah, you need that.
Tell tell me a little bit about some of the real life challenges with being a Black lawyer in Chicago, right? You talk about, having a group chat where you guys support each other. What was it like
Oh
starting out? Because I'm sure you probably didn't have that network to start.
no, well, a lot of it. Well, being black and a lawyer in Chicago, you all know each other. It's just, we do. We all know each other, especially the ones like my age and things like that. But even the younger ones, you start to know everybody because it's a close, we try to keep it close knit. Um, but the main thing is people swear that that you're not worth the same amount of money white people should get. And two, a lot of them think that you're not as good as a white attorney. That like when they come to you, they think they're going to get, they're getting bargain basement prices. And you're
Mm,
like, no, you get that a lot. You know, like for instance, one case I had, attempt murder. Um, the case against my client was pretty awful. Like there was no hope of winning a trial. It was that kind of
mm,
case. Um, but they didn't believe me. So they hired an attorney that I knew, actually, white attorney, white Jewish attorney, um, and they was listening to him,
mm,
and they hired him to like be kind of like co-counsel with me, to kind of look over me, right? So they would always like just listen to him. They wouldn't listen to me. Now, mind you, I had done all the work on this case, and I got him a actually pretty sweet deal. And then it came down to the date of trial, and then the attorney that I know, Stuart Goldberg, that was the attorney. So he goes, so I don't understand why you're talking to me. Taj did all this work. He actually got you a great deal. I actually don't know how he got you this deal, but you should be taking it. Because if we go to trial, we're going to lose. And I remember the family just looked at me and just kept talking to him, you know, and then started saying, well, you didn't tell me that. I said, I did tell you that. I told you everything. We've had multiple meetings in my office, and I'm telling you, this is what should happen, and this is the best deal you can get. So yeah, and this is coming from your own people,
right.
So it's that stigma you gotta overcome, and to do that, you just gotta set it and just go, you know what, I'm just as good, and I'm not gonna take less. That's
Right.
it. You know, that's it.
Did you
That's
did
the
that
only way it is.
ever did that ever it sounds easy, but how hard was it actually?
I mean, in the beginning, it's hard because you want the income coming in.
Right.
Now, I'm okay and, established enough to say no. Like I don't, for instance, I don't, what's the word? I don't negotiate fees. My fee is my fee.
Mm-hmm.
Either you pay it or you can't. Now, I do work with certain organizations that if they send me a client, I would do what we call a sliding scale based off their income, because that's something I set up with them. But if you're just coming off, you come to me and you're going, well, how about this one? Okay, so now there's no need for us to continue.
Right.
Yeah. No, you got to set it. You, especially being black, you got to set it in stone. You got to let them know what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, and that's the honest truth. Because if you don't, they are going to try to run all over you.
Yeah. How did um how did you figure out your initial pricing? I feel like that's, again, if
Oh,
you're in the people business, you may be able to have friends and ask around, but
correct.
even if I was selling a product, that price question is hard, man.
So I just asked around. Literally, like I said, when I decided I was going to do this, I talked to a bunch of attorneys, asked them how much, and they all was forthcoming. They all told me about how how much they charge for certain cases, what you should do, how much you should charge, how you should charge, and just was like, okay, great. Now I did when I first started, like lower my prices compared to the industry standard because I'm just starting out on my own. Even though I have a bunch of trials and was a prosecutor, you're still starting on your own, and I didn't have any clients yet.
Right.
So yeah, but once you start getting clients and you're like, okay, so now here's where I'm at, and that's where I'm going to stay at.
Mm-hmm. You talk about how you do family law. How do you compartmentalize the emotion associated with some of those cases and not let that bleed into your Zen time or bleed into your overall kind of mood and sentiment?
It's hard. That was hard. And to this day, sometimes it still happens. But you have to realize that you're not, you have to keep telling yourself you're not the one that got them in this predicament. It's not your actions. Your job is to get them out, you know, um, and it's to do it without, to do it. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? To do it without getting your emotions involved. Because your point as being a lawyer, right, is to do what's best in the best interest of your client without emotion. Because once your emotions get into it, you're gonna make, you're not gonna think straight. You're not going to do the what's best for your clients. Because my clients have made decisions. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not in your best interest. Like, what are we doing here? Um, so it takes some time for that to happen. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, you know. And you got to trust yourself. You got to trust that you know what you're doing and you know what's best. And sometimes your clients are not going to agree, and then that's okay. You part ways. It doesn't have to be this big thing. You're just like, I think this has happened, and they're like, no, I think this. I'm like, okay, well, I disagree, and you need to find an attorney who will agree with you, and that's it. That's the best way because now you go crazy.
Do you feel like you're a natural born salesman?
Yeah, actually, I do. But not like in a regular salesman way. I just think people kind of gravitate towards me, and that helps me retain clients.
Yeah.
Um, and I get good results. Like, not to toot my own horn, but when clients listen to me, I always get a great outcome. I do. I have a client
Yeah.
now, and he actually said, "I'm sorry." He
How
did.
often
He
does that happen?
enough, enough.
What misconceptions about having your own law practice did you have before you started?
I don't even know I had any misconceptions. Actually, maybe one that you'll be rich overnight. Because of the attorneys I know, like the ones I talked to, like I said, all did well. all driving Porsches, BMWs, things like that. And they made it sound like it was just easy. Even when talking to them, they made it sound like, just get out there, charge, and you'll be great. No, it takes a little more work than that. It takes a little more work than that. And also you got to decide what is it that you want for yourself. I'm not trying to be one of those attorneys that is 80 years old, still going to the courthouses and talking about no, that's not what I want. I have an out date, and I want to stick to my out date, and that's what somebody told me, like, to have an out date.
Yeah.
Have your out date, have your out number, and then stick to it and go do something else. Have a plan B, because this is stressful and you don't want to die early.
Have you enjoyed the process of building your business?
No.
Okay.
No. It's like I said, it's trial and error. Building a business is trial and error. And don't think you can come in, you're gonna have this foundation set up and you're just gonna run with it. Hell no. It's trial and error. Like, you're gonna, like, okay, that's not gonna work. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, parts of that work. That didn't work. Let's add the. It's always gonna be trial and error. Now, I did have a number, like, when I first came out, I did have a number and an age. Well, not age, but a year, when I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I want to walk away. So I did have that when I first started. But getting there, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. It's been a very interesting ride. Like, you try different things, right? Like, I'm thinking about taking on a partner. So it's still like, you're just trying to see what works, what doesn't work. And I feel like you're always going to do that.
Yeah.
And as time grows and things change, and the world keeps, like, progressing, you're still going to have to find out new ways to do things. Because, like, during COVID, right, I had decided to not charge as much because I'm not traveling at all. I'm sitting at my home, So I was like, okay. And with a client said that, it's like, well, since you're not traveling, you're not, like, doing all this thing, you still going to charge me? I was like, you have a point. Okay.
Right.
And he appreciated it. And then he told other people, and actually they left the other attorneys and came to me because I was giving COVID prices. So, it's all, you always trying to do different things, man.
Right.
Like, oh, you'll see. Oh, you'll see.
I'm sure
you'll
will.
See.
Well, I think what's fascinating about it is because, so, like, the tagline of the podcast is, love the process. And I think what's fascinating is you don't love the process, but
you don't love the process.
But I think what I want to see, I'm trying to think of the question I want to pick and prod at a little bit is, although the process isn't enjoyable, or let's say, because even though you don't love the process, why do you keep doing it?
Because I can't see him doing anything else. Once I started this journey, I can never ever see myself working for somebody else again. Ever. Somebody else telling me what to do, how to do it. I'll probably be fired within like 2 weeks. Yeah. And the reward, right? Like I said, I talk, like, I'm trying to be honest. I always trying to be honest with anything I do. And shit is tough, but it comes, like, it has the good parts too. Like I said, flexibility. You can, you can make as much money as, there's no ceiling on it, right? You don't have to wait for somebody to say, "Oh, you did a great job. Here's a raise." No, you work hard and your own work desire your numbers. I'm sure I've gotten like the amount of money I made every year since I started. I'm sure it has beat many people in their jobs, like raise wise. Like, so that's a good thing. Flexibility is a good thing. Um, you know, you actually keep more money
Hmm.
because you're your own business, tax wise. You keep more money than when you're working with somebody else. Um, so there's good parts about it, but the process, I say, it's hard because, and it's not, it's not great. Well, what is it? It's not enjoyable because it's always changing and you're always trying to figure it out.
Right.
Like every morning I wake up and I'm like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do different. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, I'm gonna send out billing on this day. Okay, that was too early. I'm gonna send out billing on this day. You know, it just always it's always moving, always going. And sometimes you just want to like, okay, here's the process. It works. It's great.
Right.
I'm rich. You know,
Right.
let it be.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
a friend of
what's,
mine.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a friend of mine. He got his own law firm as well, and he's playing with different names, right? So
Mhm.
he's trying to mass market his firm. Um, he'll be doing commercials and stuff soon. So that's his route. He
Right.
was doing, so you just keep trying to get to that, get to that point.
So what I like about that is you don't love the process, but as I hear you talk about the things you're doing and what makes it so hard and not as enjoyable is the constant change and the constant challenge of growth, right?
Right.
And what's interesting about that is change is hard, change is uncomfortable. No one likes being uncomfortable, but as an entrepreneur, your life is being uncomfortable.
As an entrepreneur, you're in a steady state of uncomfortableness. I don't even know if that's a word, but you are in a steady state of uncomfortableness. Like you are strictly uncomfortable every day. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you are uncomfortable. Like it just like, you don't get to, you don't have um set, sometimes you can't just stop at 5 like most people. Like, all right, I'm done.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes I wish I had a regular 9 to 5 where I didn't have to take my work home with me. No, that's not the case at all. Sometimes I get calls on the weekends and I'm like, I got to answer it. I see multiple clients on the weekends because that's the time they can meet. So, I don't get to have the 9 to 5 and then the weekends off and the 2 week vacation and like, you try to do that sometimes, try to take time off for yourself. You have to. That's number one. Make sure you do that. But sometimes it's not reasonable.
Right.
I've worked on vacation many times, many times.
But I think you, like you highlighted before, it's a, you know what you're getting out of it, right? You know what you're
Hmm.
willing to give up, you know what you're getting out of it. And ultimately that flexibility on making that decision to say, I'm willing to sacrifice this, I'm not willing to sacrifice that, is the reward of being an entrepreneur.
Correct. And it is. Don't get me wrong. The fact that I am 9 years doing this is a reward in itself. Because if
Mm.
you'd have asked me like 10 years ago, would I be here? I'd be like, oh hell no. And the fact that I'm still here, that doing well, you know, roof overhead, kids are doing well, that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
Um, seriously, that's like a compliment in itself. People take that for granted because it could have went either way.
Right.
Um, so you know, I measure success by that.
How many times did you think that it was over?
Oh, what this week? like, like you're you're not an entrepreneur if you don't think it's over. At least I'm gonna be nice and say at least 5 times a month. Right. And maybe it can be different depending on what kind of industry you're in. But my industry, like I said, we we eat what we kill. So, you know, I have a number I try to make every week. And if I don't make that number, and it's just me, but I start panicking, like, okay, is this it? I'm never gonna see this again. Oh my God. And then the next month it's like making it rain, like, oh my God, you know, I'm holding money phones in my ear. Like it's just
A
you
couple
know,
extra drinks at Money Gun.
ex- e- exactly. So you just don't know. It's you're gonna always feel that way. You're gonna feel like, what am I doing? And I think a lot of it's the industry too.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of it's the industry, but my industry is like you always feel like, for me anyway, like I would say like I would say definitely a few times a month. I feel like, this is it. It's over. And I should feel that way. It's just I do.
Hmm.
And that's just the kind of person I am. You know.
Right.
And then I try to calm myself down. Like, well, dude, you've done it 9 years. I think you'll be all right. But hmm. And then like, March will come and then my phone will be ringing off the hook. You know, Mr. Smith, we need you for this, and they're throwing money at me.
How do you decide when you want to scale? Right. You talked about, you're considering bringing on another partner. Um,
Hmm.
how have you thought through that decision over the years?
Mainly is that one, you got to find a partner that is right for you. So the partner that I'm talking to, so before COVID hit, we were actually literally um, about to like sign papers and combine. But then COVID happened, and we both didn't know what the hell was going to happen. So we was like, all right, we're gonna relax and see how this works. But you want to first find somebody who you work well with. The
Hmm.
person I wanted to bring on, she was like my partner at the state's attorney's office, and we work amazingly well together. Um, like she likes doing things that I hate doing. One, two, she has her own client list that she's bringing in, so it's not um, like we're combining firms. It's not like we're going to miss a step. We're hoping that us together will just take us to the next level. So
Right.
that's what in my opinion, that's what I'm looking for. Just want somebody to not hinder me, but let's come in and make this better, easier. Let's work off our strengths. Like when we was in the state attorney's office, we knew it was like, okay, you like doing that, I like doing this. Let's
Hmm.
go. Right. She has no problem delivering bad news. I hate delivering bad news, but she's like this. Let's get it over with. Let's do it. And she'll go, say, yeah, that's not going to work, and no problem with it. You
Yeah.
know, um, Like I have no problem. Like I'm more of the go out there and get clients. Like I'm more of a rainmaker. So yeah, so I think we're supposed to have a meeting actually a couple weeks from now to see what we're gonna do if we still want to go that way. I think it'll if we decide, I think it'll work well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you some of these conclude. Well, let me ask this question first.
hmm
What do you wish you knew before you started?
Wish I knew. It's a good question. What did I wish I knew when I started? Um, Actually, I wish I would have known more about infrastructure. I wish I would have found out more about like billing and things like that before I started.
Mm.
That stuff I didn't ask about, and no one talked about. Like no one said, "Hey, get this software or get do that." No one talked about that for me with me. So I wish I would have knew that before I started. Like had a whole infrastructure set up. So because I went through quite a number of different softwares and things like that before I got to one I like.
Would you say that if you were talking to an entrepreneur, how do you think, knowing what you know now, how would you advise someone around addressing some of those gaps, right? Maybe you're starting a business and you know that subject area very well, but you don't know anything about finance or accounting or billing or whatever it may be. How would you approach that today? Would you try to outsource? Would you try to just do more research, dedicate more time?
I would have definitely done more research, and I would have specifically asked questions about it. It's like, okay, what billing software do you use? What's the drawbacks? What's good about it? What are some of the? Is it easy or is it complicated? Those are things I definitely would ask um, prior to. Um, and you can also outsource. There's some people who outsource to accountants who do it for them. If you want to pay the accountant to do that. So it really depends on what you want to do, on how you want to handle it. Um, you know, I had no idea what the future held, so I did it all myself because I wanted to you know I couldn't afford to pay anybody at that point because I was like I don't know what this is going to be, so I'm gonna do it all myself and see how it works. So yeah, so I would say that's the main thing. I would ask about the complete, like ask about financial, ask about operational, cost analysis. Like I would actually went into it. Like mainly I went in there like, okay, how do I get clients and what do I charge? That was my main question. And I would have had more operational questions if I could go back in time.
That's interesting
Yeah,
because
it's definitely operational.
I think everyone's inclination is chase the revenue, but
hmm
expenses rack up, and if you don't have kind of that operations and expense side of the house dealt with, um, your margin's just gonna shrink. So that's a
And
good
give
point.
yourself a cap on what you're going to pay for each thing. Like, what are you going to pay for operations? How much you willing to pay for it a month? How much you going to pay for, not in my case, but, depending on your business, like legal fees, how much you going to pay for that every month? Accounting, like you need to know exactly how much you're willing to pay for that and what your budget is, and then start seeking people out for that early on, actually, because those are very important pieces to a successful business.
Hmm. What That's an interesting question. Uh, What are the things that you know you could do, but you had to stop doing because it wasn't profitable for you to keep doing?
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, and I know I have a lot. I just can't think of
So like
anything right now.
for some people, it's like, oh, I, a lawyer. I could do my own like legal documents or legal drafts or whatever, or if you're
Oh,
an accountant, I
accounting.
could do my own
Oh
bookkeeping, but you're just like,
no, pay somebody. It's easier.
Mhm.
Yeah, pay somebody is easier. I try to do
Sorry,
that
what
for a
was it?
while.
Repeat it one more time. What was your
I say pay somebody.
no,
To like
to do
accounting,
what though? Oh, accounting. Got it.
accounting. I was saying that, yeah, accounting. Definitely get somebody to do that. Don't bother that. Like, hire a professional. They know what they're doing, and just do it. Because you can use that time other places. You
Mhm.
know, you don't. I forgot who said it, but you don't have to. You you shouldn't try to know everything, anything and everything. You should pay attention to it. But no, hire people. Like, here's your money. Take care of that. You know, I said that was the hardest thing to do. It was like to like, okay, I'm gonna pay people to do certain things that yes, I can do, but that's their specialty. I'm gonna let them handle it. I would say that was the
Right.
hardest thing. You know,
How did you find those people, and how did you get comfortable enough to trust them with that process?
or I just asked around. So I just people that I trust. I asked them who they used, and they gave me names, and I just had an interview with them, and vibed. And then if the person who referred me has nothing but great things to say, then usually it's okay. I always like now pay attention.
Mhm.
You just don't let them run blind. You always like double check and like go through. But yeah, make sure that everything's on the up and up, and that's just what you should just do. Period.
What question should we ask our next guest about building a business?
So here's what you. I thought about this question. Here's what you should ask. I think you should ask all people you have on your podcast how they get started and what resources they had to get started.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, me included, when you don't know, you always think that, oh, they must have had money to
Mhm.
start. Um, and I think a lot of people will benefit to hear that, like, for instance, I was broke when I started, like broke, and I mean broke. So, it's good to hear that because then you got somebody who is like, oh, he was broke. Look at him now. That's amazing.
Mhm.
So I think that's something that you should ask each one like how you got started, what financial resources you had. And it's gonna run the spectrum. You're gonna have people who are, inherently wealthy, family money, or people who are broke, or people who made money from their job and they were able to do this. It's going to, or people who were working full time and doing this on part time. You know, it's going to run a gamut, and I think that's very important for entrepreneurs to hear. For sure, for sure, for sure.
Any parting thoughts of wisdom for our community of aspiring entrepreneurs?
Yes, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. If you think you're gonna get in here and do it and be stress free and make a gazillion dollars, like that's not how this works. You can, and eventually you'll get there, but it's a struggle, and you gotta be ready for it. Every day you gotta wake up like I'm gonna kill it or attempt to kill it anyway. So yes, that's those are my parting words.
So embrace change, get comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Oh hell
and
yeah! Oh hell yeah!
find your zen activity.
Yes, you definitely need an outlet, whatever that is. even if it's just meditating, even if it's just, I don't know what it is, but you got to find something to release, because every day, you're going to be stressed out, and you got to get that out of your system somehow, or think about something else.
Yeah.
For
Thanks,
sure.
man. Appreciate it. This was
Anytime,
dope.
man. Anytime.